Hi everybody, Steven here. In the past I did a video talking about the VMUG Advantage program and the Broadcom program in regards to certification around VCP for your VCF or VVF environment and how this gave you access to the software. The problem was, yes, you had access to the software, but you didn't have access to the bundles, so you truly could not spin up a VCF environment. Well, guess what? That has changed, and I'm going to talk about that in this video right now. See you in a bit. Hi everybody, thanks for sticking around. So in this video, I'm going to cover how we can set up an offline depot for VMware Cloud Foundation or your VMware vSphere Foundation environment. Now, in order for this to work, you need to be one, a VMUG Advantage member, and two, you need to be certified as a VCP in VCF or VVF, either one. Then you get access, you get entitlement to the software. The problem was, while we had access to the VCF 9 software, we didn't have one, licenses, and two, the most important one, we didn't have ability to generate a token, a support token for us to download bundles to actually do the true install. I talk about in my video up here, right? That has changed. Now, before we begin, I always like to throw this out. For those of you that subscribe to the channel, thank you very much. 10 thumbs up to you folks. Thank you for supporting the channel. For those of you that are new here or haven't subscribed yet, please consider supporting the channel. It's totally free. You press that subscribe button and it's done, right? Without subscribers, remember, there's no content developers, and this is kind of how it keeps me going, right? Other ways to support the channel is sharing the videos, liking videos, leaving comments. That interaction also helps support the channel. And I also have super thanks enabled, but guess what? That's totally up to you. So why don't we get started? Okay, so before we begin, I just found out about this news yesterday. Today is August the 1st, 2025. Let me just get my left screen up here going. This article was published by William Lam. If you're playing with VMware, you probably heard of his name. He's got tons of really good blogs here and stuff, right? But he talks about how to deploy VVF or VCF 9 using the VMUG Advantage program and your certification entitlement, right? And he goes through the details here, telling you what files to download. I'm not going to bore you with all this, but he lists all the files that you need to download here, okay? And we had access to all of these files before. That wasn't a problem. This is the big difference one right there, the metadata.zip file, right? So let me just bring mine up here. So you basically log into your Broadcom, click on my downloads. Again, you need to be VMware, you need to be certified and a VMUG Advantage member to get access to this stuff. That's what the whole point is. I'm going to click on VMware Cloud Foundation, and he has links in his articles for that. And I'll leave a link to his articles in the description of this video. We're going to go to VMware Cloud Foundation. We're at version 9. I'll click on that. And there's a bunch of stuff that you can actually download. I've actually already downloaded all these things. There's NSX, there's ESX, vCenter, all that stuff here. This is the one of Cloud Foundation installer. We had access to that before. That wasn't a big deal. But it's this file here, right here, this offline depot metadata file. So it's small in size, right? This is the file that does all the magic. So that's the one that's truly new here. If I click on, now I've already downloaded it. If I click on the additional information, if you're unable to utilize the software download token, which us VMUG Advantage members don't have that, for installation and upgrades, use this metadata file with an offline depot, right? So I want to thank the folks at VMware Cloud Foundation and Broadcom, for access to this. We've been waiting for this for a while. So I'm going to walk you through what I did to set this up, okay? So be right back. Okay, so I've downloaded that offline depot metadata zip file, right? So I'm just going to right click. I put it in a temp directory over here. I need to right click on that. I'm just going to say extract it to this folder, right? So it's going to extract it to this folder. There we go. I'm going to go into that folder, and you'll see there's a prod directory there. I go into there, you'll see there's a comp metadata and vSAN. When I go into the comps for like components, you'll see there's a folder for, let's say, NSX-T, right? It should be say NSX Manager. There's nothing there, right? You'll see there's a folder for vCenter. There's nothing there. So you'll see there's various folders for operations, VCF Ops, VCF Automation, VCF Operations, Lifecycle Manager, and a lot of these are empty. And what you got to do is, again, if you look at his post, he talks about downloading all those appliances. So he makes a list of them right here. And I've already downloaded them. So what you need to do is essentially, like if I just get this here, let me open up another folder. Actually, let me just get another screen here. And I've already got mine done. Let me put this on the left and that one on the right. And you'll see if I go into my, let's see, VMware here. Let's go Cloud Foundation 9. I got a bunch of garbage here. You'll see, for example, there's NSX, right? So there's my appliance for NSX, and it tells me also to put in this little this file here. So I'll right-click on that. I'll go copy. I'll go to comps, and I'll basically go into NSX, and I paste it into there, right? So essentially, you run through that whole process, copying over the appropriate files into the directories. Then once you've done that, you need to upload them to a web server. So we'll come back to that one in a minute. Okay, so we're back. I finished copying everything over. So if I go into my directories now under components here, you'll see an NSX manager. You'll see the appliances there. If I go into SDDC manager, you'll see the appliance there, so on, and my vCenter and servers, so on and so forth. Pretty straightforward. Just follow those instructions. Now, what I'm going to do, now you might be wondering, why am I copying it here and then going to transfer it somewhere else? So remember, I'm in a nested environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this directory structure into a Photon OS, the VM that I have actually running. So if I actually just show you my environment here, I get a bunch of VMs. Doesn't really matter, but I got one there called www.vclass.local. It's a Photon-based VM. Again, you could have downloaded this stuff directly to your Windows machine and run a web server on it, which we'll get there. So I'm going to put this on my Linux machine here that's in my nested environment. This way, when the SDDC manager's copied it over, it's technically copying it on the same host. It's all running on this one nested host. But again, I'm just doing this extra step here. So I'm going to, let me get into my WinSCP. I'm going to log into my that machine there, my Linux machine, and I'll type in my password. And then in there, I actually have a directory called www, just from the root. This VM, by the way, if you're just wondering, it's a Photon-based VM. It's not, well, relatively not that big. It's got 2 processors, 8 gigs of memory, and I gave it a terabyte of storage because I need to be at least 52 gigs of space. Because if I look at that directory structure that we just did here, let's go back to here. This is on my D drive. If I right-click on prod and I go properties, you'll see it's 52 gig in size, right? So it's got to dump that amount of data to that Linux machine. So let's go back to WinSCP. I'm going to go to my D drive, okay, which I'm already on. Let me just go to my directory where my depot is, and I'm going to copy this folder into my WW folder. So let me just select that. I'm going to hit F5, and it's going to, whoops. Let's cancel that, hit another key there by accident. Let's try that again. F5. Oh, come on. F5 to copy, and then there we go. That's going to take, well, let's see how long. It's probably going to take about 20 minutes. Yeah, so it's saying it's going to take about 20 minutes. You folks don't need to watch this while it's going on. So we'll come back and we'll take a look at this afterwards, okay? So see you in a bit. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Totally free, all right? We'll come back and see how we get this thing rolling. Okay, so we're back. That took about 20 minutes, and everything's actually copied over. To be honest with you, this is a different machine where I actually already had copied it over, but it doesn't really matter. If I go in there, you'll see, again, all the stuff's where it's supposed to be, okay? So let me get out of there. Let me say, okay. Now, this is where you can set up your own web server if you want to. And that folder you would share out through a web server. And there's actually something a little bit easier to do, okay, which I like easy, right? Is it good in production? Probably not a good idea, but again, this is my lab environment. I don't care. So I'm gonna SSH into my that Python machine. Sorry, that Proton machine, and log in this root. Did I type in the right password? I think I fat fingered my password. Yeah, I fat fingered my password. Let's just adjust the size of the font here. And we won't bother with the color this time around. I know sometimes the color doesn't come out too well in YouTube. There we go. Now I'm just going to change into my directory here, cd space var/123/html, and you'll see there's my prod folder. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to share that out. Now I'll leave the link for this as well. But again, William talks about this in his links and his blogs, right? So what do I want here? I want to. Is this what I want? No, that's not what I want. There we go. And I'll leave a link to this here. DigitalOcean. Again, links for this are on William's blog, but I'll leave links for it here. Again, my Photon box basically has Python already there. So technically, you could have a Windows machine and have Python installed, and you could run this. So you can see it's a very simple command, python-m, http.server. William talks a little bit about this and the port here, right? So I'm just going to basically type that in. So python-m and http.server, and I'm going to say port 80, and that's it. It is now, that Photon box is now a web server listening on port 80, right? And I'm basically sharing out that folder there, that prod folder, okay? So let's go back into the SDDC manager. This is not going to work, okay? And I'll show you why. Let's go into here. Let's go into my, or VCF installer, I should be calling it, tell you the truth, right? And I'll log in. So this is the VCF installer. I've already installed it. I'll do a video on all that from beginning to end. But anyways, let's go into download binary. So again, I'll select here. And again, I already did a video showing you I don't have a token for the online. This is the offline. So we're going to go configure. Now it's going to ask me for my fully qualified domain name or IP address of my web server. So mine's called www.vclass.local. That's my Photon machine. Well, port, I'm going to say port 80. Notice over here it says must be HTTPS. So obviously I'm going to get a problem, and my user, type in the user that has access there, or root, or whatever you've got set up. Shoot. And I'm going to hit configure, and it's going to come back. Secure protocol communication error. Check logs for more details. So by default, the VCF installer wants to access these logs, the depot using HTTPS, wants it to be secure. Makes sense. So we can go in. Now, I could go in and create certificates and mess around. I don't want to mess with certificates. I could have done that, right? I'm too lazy. I'm going to go into the VCF installer and disable that, okay? Probably not a good idea to do in production, but I'm going to do it in my lab environment. So let me go into here. And again, all that stuff is on William's site. Let's go in. Where is it? There it is. And I'm going to log in as VCF. And I'm going to change into my root user. Now, he talks about it in one of his blogs here. Again, all these links are on that site here. Now, what we got to do, let me just bring this across over here. It tells us we need to edit this file, this application prod properties file, and then we go in there and then we specify Lifecycle Manager Depot. We're basically saying disable HTTPS. So let's go in and edit that file. Then once we've done that, we need to restart the services. And it says it'll take a few minutes. So let's go in and I'll show you something you got to watch out for there. Okay, come on. Let's open this up a bit. So where do we got to go? opt/VMware/VCF/LCM Lifecycle Manager /LCM app/comp. There, I'm in that directory. Then I'm going to do long listing, and you can see the file at the very top, application prod properties. We need to modify that file. There's a problem. This will fail if I try to modify it. Notice if you're Linux, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about there. But if you're not familiar with Linux, right now this file only has read-only access on it. You'll notice again the D, that's indicating a directory. This is not a Linux tutorial, but essentially the first three over here, basically you'll see there's a RW then an X. So read, write, execute. So the first 3 is for the owner of that file, which is VCF LCM. The next 3 is for the group, which is the VCF group. And then the last 3 here are for everybody else. So right now, there's only read access, and only this person, this owner, can read this file. So I'm going to change this. So I'm logged in as root. So I'm Zeus, I'm Mount Olympus. I'm going to change mod, and these are binary. Okay. So I'm just going to, anyways, this is not a Linux course, so you'll have to kind of look it up. I'm going to change this to read for everybody. Probably not the greatest thing to do from a security perspective, but I don't care in my lab environment. So I'm going to go application dash prod. And now when I do a long listing, you'll see it says rewrite, 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 rewrite. Okay, so now I have write access. So I'm going to use VI editor, VI application, application dash prod. And I'm going to do a search for one of the parameters he mentioned here. Let's go back. Is this LCM depot adapter HTTPS. That won't be in there. We need to add that in. So I'm just going to do a search for LCM.depot. Is it depot? Yeah, .adapter. And there's a whole bunch of them in there. And yeah, you see down here at the bottom, there's a whole bunch of them. I'm just going to add this to the end. LCM. Sorry. Let's try that again. LCM.depot. Make sure you don't type this wrong. Adapter. HTTP S capital E enabled equals false, and that TPS enabled equals false, and that looks good to me. So I'm just going to save that, and then I need to go in and restart the service here, lifecycle manager service. So system CTL restart lifecycle manager, and then we got to wait a few minutes. So I'm going to hit pause on this, and then we'll come back and see what happens. All right, I just waited about a minute or so. I don't have much patience. System control status. Lifecycle manager. Looks like it's okay. All right, let's see what happens now. Let's go back over to here. Let's try this again. Configure. Taking a little longer. And it's looking good. I don't know. Chrome does that. There we go. There's my offline depot. Right? Notice it's initializing binaries now. So over here, now again, if you look here, it says VMware vSphere Foundation is not downloaded, and VMware Cloud Foundation is not downloaded. Remember, the VCF installer allows you to set up a VCF environment and also a VMware vSphere Foundation environment. I'll do videos and all that. Right now, we're just doing this. So it says, hey, I found all these bundles. What version, right? And I'm going to say, okay, now maybe I just care about this vSphere Foundation, and I would just download those, okay? I'm going to do the whole shooting works because it gives me basically the ability to do both. And again, notice over here, it's not downloaded. So I could select all this, right? And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit the download button. And then, again, you'll notice it's initiated now. This is going to take a little while to download, even inside my environment, okay? So again, download request is initiated. So we just kind of sit back and wait and watch this thing kind of go through. I will, again, you'll see it's in progress over here. So what it will do, you'll see it starting to download. Once it's been downloaded, it will validate it, and then you should actually see go through and see that it's a success. Let me just leave this like this. Actually, let's go over to what's there. That's what's going on that Photon box. That's my web server. So again, a quick and dirty way to do this. We'll let this run. Would I do this in a production environment without certificates? No, I wouldn't do that. This is my lab environment. I don't care. I don't want to mess with certificates. But there's instructions there that William basically has if you do want to mess with certificates. So this is a cheap and dirty way of getting this stuff into the installer. Once it's in the environment, Okay, so we're back, and we can see it's all done. It's downloaded. It's all successful. I have both VMware vSphere Foundations all downloaded and Cloud Foundation. So really good news for us VMUG Advantage members that are certified. We can now actually start using the VCF installer to set up an environment. I'll be doing separate videos on that. There is one thing that they're still working on, and I know they're working hard on this, both VMUG and the VCF team at Broadcom, is licensing, right? So right now it's just 90-day license. One thing that that I'll have to say, just for completeness here, is in a VCF environment, even though I can deploy it now, and if I go to play with vDefend, because NSX is not licensed in VCF 9 here, until we get licensing sorted out, vDefend licenses will not work. It'll say you need to have a licensed NSX manager. So that's the only downside I would have to say, but I know they're working on it, and this is a big stride forward, so it's all good news all the way around. Anyways, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave comments and questions down below, and I got more videos coming up very soon. All right? Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.